Hello students, I hope you're all doing well at home. Welcome once again to Education Class for Class 12. So before we begin this new lesson, students, I wanted to tell you that in the first lesson of your class 12 education subject, you studied about educational psychology, isn't it? So what was educational psychology? In order to give you proper education, we need to understand the psychology of the students, right? So that is how education and psychology, they go together, right? And in the second chapter of your lesson, we studied about growth and development, right? So some changes are visible, some are not, but we also understood that development takes place all throughout life, right? So that was the second chapter. Now for the third chapter, I want you to imagine a scenario. Right now, you are in the teenage stage, right? You're in class 12, isn't it? So most probably 15 to 17 or 18 years of age, right? So you were not born into this world like you are right now, isn't it? You were there in your mother's womb for some time. You were born into this world. You were a baby. Then you grew all along, right? So that is nothing but stages of human development. So the changes that are taking place in your body or in your life, that is stages of human development. And one thing we must understand if we are trying to understand this lesson is that the word change is very important. When there is growth taking place in your body, or when there is development taking place in your mind, then change occurs, isn't that? Yes or no? It might be visible sometimes, it might not be visible sometimes, but definitely change is happening in your life, right? So with that understanding, let us try to look into the lesson. If you look into the textbook, the lesson starts from page number 24, right? So if you look into the textbook, then they have given a chart, isn't it? So in the chart, the stages of human development is divided into different stages, isn't it? So the first one is the prenatal stage, and then after that, they have divided the later part of the stages of human development into postnatal stage. So what is prenatal stage and postnatal stage? So for this prenatal stage, you are there in your mother's womb as a fetus, isn't it? Right? And for the 9 months of your life, you're there in your mother's womb, and certain changes, growth, development takes place in you, right? So that is the prenatal stage before you are born into this world. Okay, so that is the pre-stage, the prenatal stage. The postnatal stage is from the time, the moment that you are born into this world till the time that you die. So postnatal stage is divided into many stages, but it is the time that you're born into this world and then till the time that you die. Okay, so if you look into the postnatal stage, the first stage is the infancy stage, the second one is the childhood stage, the third is the adolescent stage, the stage that you are in right now, and then adulthood, and then old age, right? So in this lesson, they have focused on these 3 stages, students. Of course, adulthood and old age is also important, but that stage has not happened to you, isn't it? Right? So that is why these things are not focused upon, but these 3 stages are given importance in the lesson, stages of human development. Okay, so when you look into the first stage, that is the infancy stage. So infancy here, before we try to understand the stages, we must also understand that there are some certain divisions or age time bound that they have given. Because see, infancy stage will start from 0 to 2 years, right? And then childhood will start from the fourth year of your life till 12 years, and then adolescent likewise will be from 13 to 19 years, and then likewise adulthood and old age will happen. But we must also understand here, students, that in different cultures, or according to different countries, or according to different kind of people, the human stages will vary. For example, in some cultures there is no childhood stage. So from the time that you are born till the time that you attain your teenage, you are a baby. So there's no childhood, and at home you're treated as a baby, and after that you go to your adolescent stage, the stage that you are in right now, and then you become a mature being in the form of an adult. So according to culture and according to countries, the stages will vary, okay? But roughly the infancy stage start from the time that you are born into this world till 2 years of your life. So 0 to 2 years is your infancy stage. So when I say infancy, think about a baby, or because for you will not remember the time that you were a baby, isn't it? But you must be having nephews, niece, or your cousins, or even your little brothers and sisters, right? So you can imagine that baby within the 2 years of its life. How does he act? How does he react? How does he behave at home, right? So we will try to understand the baby below 2 years of age, from their physical development, social development, emotional development, and then intellectual development, right? So what are some of the characteristics of this infancy stage? We say that this infancy stage is a stage of dependence. You must have seen the babies, right? You must have experienced, maybe who knows, some of you might be taking care of them, right? So they have to depend on the adults or the elders at home, right? They cannot do things on their own. They cannot eat food by themselves, right? So they depend on the elder beings that are there at home, okay? And then another characteristics of infancy stage is that rapid growth and development occurs. Okay, so we must understand that. I'll come in detail into that later on. And then this stage is also characterized by shyness, because see, the small baby will not go to everyone and anyone, right? It will be more attached to the parents or the siblings at home, isn't it? So this is a very shy age, we can say. And then we can also say that this is a very hazardous or a dangerous stage. Why is that so? Because see, if the baby is left alone, then he or she might fall down, right? He might try to play with the fire, because the small baby doesn't have understanding about what is good or what is bad, or what is dangerous or good for him, right? So we can say that this infancy stage is a very dangerous or hazardous stage, right? And then this stage is also very appealing. Why is it appealing? When we see babies, we feel like cuddling them. They are so cute, right? So it appeals to our eyes, isn't it? And to our mind also, right? So that is why they are very appealing. Okay, so these are some of the characteristics of the infancy stage. When you look into the blackboard, you might get confused, class, but you have your textbooks with you, right? So whatever the teacher is trying to explain, it's all there in the textbook, so you can follow with your textbooks. Okay, so see, the first development we are trying to look here in the infancy stage is physical development. So what is physical? Physical is to do with your body, right? So what are some of the physical developments that occur in the infancy stage? So the first one is height. So here we adults, or we grown-ups, we are measured with a certain measuring tape, isn't it? But for small child, they cannot stand on their own, the babies, right? So what the doctors or the caretakers, they do is they are measured not in their height but through their length, and that measuring thing is called infanotometer. Okay, so it's there in the textbook. So they are measured, and it seems they really grow in height also, right? And they grow greatly in weight also. And it is said that an average Indian baby, when he's born into this world, weighs around 2.5 to 3.5 kgs. So it might be different from person to person or from child to child according to the weight of the parents also. But this is just an approximation. Okay, so the weight is, we see that the babies are very plumpy, isn't it? And then they're very cute looking, they're appealing, and of course some babies, they might be ill health also, but most of the babies, they grow in weight during this infancy stage. Okay, and then it is said that there is oscillation of bones taking place. So what is oscillation? Oscillation means the hardening of the bones. Okay, so hardening of the bones takes place, and then when the child or the small baby is born, if we try to hold them, we see that they're very soft, the bones are not well developed, right? But as the child grows into 1, 2, 3, 4 years like that, the bones will also harden. Okay, and then the teeth is also grown during this stage, and then the nervous system and the eye also develops during this stage. Okay, so the nervous system is more enhanced, and then the eye muscles also develop, and they try to differentiate between different colors. Okay, so those are some of the physical developments of the infancy stage. Okay, so let us now come into the social development. So what is social? Social means the persons that are there in and around you, right? So the family, the school, the friends that you have, right? So all those are your social environment, isn't it? So what are some of the social developments that takes place? So when you imagine a small baby, then we all know that the baby will definitely not go to school, right? And he doesn't know how to speak also, right? So the social environment is mostly confined to the home, the parents and the siblings. Okay, and then it is said that this infancy stage is a stage where the social development is kind of like antisocial. Why is it antisocial? Because the child will, like I said earlier, the child will not go to anyone and everyone, right? It will be confined to its family members, right? So they are antisocial, it seems. And then self-centered means everyone in the house. Suppose if you have a baby at home, then all of the adults, all of the grown-ups, they will focus their attention on the child, isn't it? Yes or no? To feed him, to bath him, to take care of him, or to let him sleep, right? So the baby in the infancy stage is very self-centered. Okay, and then they depend on the elders for all the things that they want. And then here in this stage, it is also said that the child learns to make certain sounds by imitation. Okay, so he'll try to imitate the parents or the elders at home. Okay, so those are some of the social development. When we look into the emotional development of the infant or the baby, what is emotion? Emotion is to do with our feelings, right? Sometimes we feel angry, sometimes we feel happy, sometimes we feel sad, right? So all those are our emotions. So here, some of the emotional development that takes place in a small baby are anger, fear, curiosity, joy. So whatever emotions that the small baby has, he will show it very frankly. He will not try to hide it. For example, if the child is feeling hungry, then definitely it'll cry, right? And it'll try to get the attention of the mother, right? And if a toy is given to him or her, then the baby will become very excited, isn't it? So they are very frank in showing their emotions in this stage. Okay, and then what about the intellectual development? Intellect is to do with our mind, isn't it? So sense organs are developed. So what are sense organs? Sense organs means the eyes, the ear, the nose, the tongue and the skin, right? So all these are developed during the infancy stage. Okay, so we have understood that physical, social, emotional and intellectual development goes on in the infant, in the small baby. We must not try to underestimate the baby, because we feel that, oh, the child is not going to school, or the baby doesn't know how to speak, so no development is going around. We must not think like that, because ancient philosophers, they were of the opinion that in this infancy stage, or in babies, no development occurs. But we all know that educational psychology is a developing science, right? We have studied in the previous classes, isn't that? So there we understood that human mind, or the individual, is always developing, isn't it? So we must not underestimate even this stage also, because certain growth and development is taking place in the small child. Okay, now let us come into the childhood stage. When you look into the childhood stage, this starts from around 4 years of your life till 12 years. Okay, so here in this childhood stage also, certain physical, social, emotional and intellectual development is taking place. Okay, so here physical development is a little slow compared to the infancy stage. Okay, and then this is a period of latency in sexual development. So when I say sexual development, there's nothing to be inhibited, but sexual development is to do with our biology, the changes that are occurring in our body, right? So if sexual development doesn't occur in a human body, then that person will not be normal, isn't it? So we all know that in the adolescent stage, lots of sexual development and biological development occurs, right? So this period, the childhood stage, is latent. That means it is hidden in the body. Okay, so no physical sexual development occurs in this stage. What about the social development? This is a period of imitation. Okay, and then cooperation also. This the children, they try to cooperate with one another, and then they try to cooperate with friends also. They try to make new friends, right? And then they try to get the attention of the parents, the elders and the teachers also. Okay, and then it is also said that this stage is a stage where gang occurs, gang or peer groups. So you'll try to mingle with your own gang or your own peer group, right? So this is that stage. And then what are emotional development that occurs in this stage? The emotion is very stable. And then rational. Here rational would mean the child is able to make out the difference between right and wrong, because remember, he's growing up, right? So he doesn't behave like a baby anymore. And then religious and patriotic feelings are also developed. Religion would mean the religion that the parents belong to, and then patriotic love for the country is also developed in this stage. Okay, and then what about the intellectual development? Certain things like concepts, perception, and then memory, reasoning, all these things are developed. But very important feature that occurs in this childhood stage is language, because remember, the small baby cannot make use of language, isn't it? But when they reach the childhood stage, they can make use of language to express themselves. Another very important feature is imagination. The imagination of the child becomes very strong. They like to read storybooks, and then they try to imagine the characters from the storybook. Okay, and then they like to ask a lot of questions also. And then here in this childhood stage, they know the difference between the date and the time, the year that they are living. So they are able to differentiate all those things. So we can see that there is development going on in the child, right? So the child no more behaves like a baby, but he's trying to grow up. So these two are the stages, the infancy stage and the childhood stage, that we understood today. And in the next class, we will try to understand the next stage, a very important stage, that is the adolescent stage. So that is all for today. Thank you so much.